Welcome to ZOAPI Web-IDE, a new way to build APIs. We will begin by developing a simple REST API that returns the list of all employees from a database table. The structure of the API response has been created as an XSD file. We begin by importing that in the project. Reusable structure definitions appear under the Types node. Next, we will add the employee table to our project. The databases are configured in your instance environment and you do not need to concern with the technical details. You simply select the database and the name of the table. Once the table is added, you tell ZOAPI to import its structure. Before we get to writing the API, we need to create data elements in the schema that our service will use. We will need a global variable of type integer for our program loop. To return the results from the service, we will declare a response node. The response will reuse the employee info structure that we imported in the beginning. When creating the employee declaration under response, we will link it to the type definition of employee, and set the duplicates flag on, because we plan to put multiple employee records in the response. Now we are ready to create our first service, the one that will copy all records from the database table and put them in the output. We go to the business flows section and add a new entry point, which represents a REST service. We can also create SOAP and MQ entry points in a similar manner. We provide the URL on which the service will run, and other attributes that control how the service will accept input and how the results will be rendered. We also assign it a local trace logger. Our service does not take any input parameters, but there are various ways that a REST service can receive inputs. From the attributes we can also control the type of security checks that will be applied to the service. Almost all of the service behavior is controlled from the attributes. Now all we need to provide is the business logic. The business logic, in ZOAPI, is programmed using a very high-level macro language that you assemble using graphical blocks. Right-click on the API node and select Edit. Our algorithm, in plain English, reads quite simple. Open the employee table. For each record in the table, copy it to the employee record under response, incrementing the loop variable I, each time. Then close the table. As we assemble this algorithm using the graphical blocks, you will find that it is really as simple as it reads. When creating the structure of the output record, to keep things simple, we used same names as the names of the fields in the database table. Only for the address field, we used a compound nested field in the output structure. To copy the records, we use the node copy command, which copies fields with the same name. When referencing the output record we use index, otherwise the output will contain only one employee record. The dot represents the record over which we are looping, which is the database record. Because our address field has a different structure, the node copy will not copy it. After the record copy, we simply copy the address field separately using the compute command. The compute command is the most common command in ZOAPI, and is used to perform all kind of computations and assignments. The compute command recognizes the data types of the operands and works according to the data types. We are finished with our basic service that demonstrates the general approach in API building in ZOAPI. The interface is devoid of any technical jargon and complexities. You only need to understand your algorithm and some amount of XML. To make the service live, you simply deploy it with a single click. Then you can point your browser to the URL we assigned to the API and see it in action. Now we will open a more real-life version of the same application and point out some of the other features. You can declare external service APIs of all types and consume them in your service. You can have subroutines, which are reusable pieces of code. You can even write Java functions in your project and use them like subroutines. ZOAPI also supports XSL-based transformations. If you have access to your own or third-party XSL code, you can simply add it to your project and use them. This concludes this demonstration. Thank you for your time.